and welcome to Tipsy Book Talks. I'm Rayanne.
And I'm Taylor.
And today we're going to be focusing on The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Woo!
The most, talked about book for the past, 2 years.
Yeah, I'm hella pumped. Okay, let's be real. Talked about it for a very good reason.
Oh my god, yeah. This book is amazing. Do you want to go into summary?
Yeah, we'll do a non-spoiler summary first, and then we'll get into our rating and all the fun spoiler stuff. Okay, so basically the story follows Monique Grant, who is a young journalist who is given the opportunity of a lifetime to interview the very famous Evelyn Hugo. Evelyn Hugo, to this point, has not done basically any interviews for an extremely long time, so it's kind of her comeback of, pushing back into the public eye, and she chooses Monique specifically for this opportunity. Yep. So what we do know is she really wants to tell her life story under her circumstances.
Yep. As Evelyn Hugo always does. It always has to be under whatever Evelyn Hugo wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
She's so cool! And to drink with this, we found this recipe called Stardust, which I have in a 60s atomic cocktails. I thought it was super cute, super on point. And it's supposed to have way more gold flecks because it has Goldschlager, which is a cinnamon liqueur that has gold flecks in it.
We each have one gold fleck.
We have one singular gold fleck. Like Evelyn Hugo, we are striving to get that gold, and we're failing right now. But, we're going to go ahead and try it. This is straight up a martini, so this is going to be, strong as but
I'm scared.
Cheers!
Cheers! I actually kind of like that.
Okay, so something that I was telling Taylor was I had, a really, really bad experience when I first started drinking with Fireball. So I was like, ooh, cinnamon liqueur, I don't know how this is going to go. It's probably going to be too much for me, but, it's not that bad.
It really helps the vodka go down.
But, yeah, it's vodka, cinnamon liqueur, and then cacao, liqueur. So it's basically a cacao.
Spoiler section!
If you have not read it, go listen to it, go read it, because this book is amazing.
Change your life.
It will change your life. Oh, there's so much. But what would you give a rating of?
I think we should say it on the count of 3 because I'm pretty sure it's the same. I just have a feeling.
She says I have a feeling, and it's written right there, so she can
I haven't looked, though. I haven't looked.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 5 stars! God damn, we didn't even plan this shit. I'm embarrassed.
Okay, I have to ask, as a bi woman, did you feel empowered by Evelyn Hugo?
I don't know. I had a very complicated relationship with Evelyn Hugo, just like Monique did.
Fair.
Because part of me was like, she is not a good person.
Yeah, no, she's not. She's very selfish in a lot of the things that she does.
Yeah, and so I had a very complicated relationship with her, but there was one quote in the very beginning that I saved because I felt very seen at that moment.
Okay.
And basically,
before we jump into that, because I was like, we normally will do quotes and stuff at the end. Do you want to do that in the beginning, or do you want to do you want me to stop you here and then we can go favorite, least favorite?
We can pause. I'll just go back to it. We'll do favorite and least character first, and then I will quote.
I have a few quotes. That's why I wanted to make sure we actually get to the quotes part, because this book is so well written. There are so many quotes that I literally wrote down because I love them. I went full school notes. I was so into this. So, who is your favorite character?
I actually had trouble with this because I had a lot of favorites, I feel like.
Yeah, there
for
are a lot of
reasons. I feel like, Evelyn Hugo was probably my favorite character. I don't think I would like her as a person. I don't think I'd want to hang out with her. No. But the complexities of her character were so interesting to me. I love a very gray area character. Someone who basically does not live in the black and white. And Evelyn, really fits into that. God, I don't even know. Hold on, let me look at my notes, because I swear I put more.
God.
So she has like these complexities that makes her so interesting to read about that I felt like I constantly was drawn to her as a character. And God, she was one of my favorites. And then I also really loved Celia St. James because I felt like out of everyone, she had probably like the most, I guess, sound moral compass.
Yeah.
She really knew what she believed and she knew what she wanted, and sometimes she like, especially when she was in love with Evelyn, she kind of let go with that. But, God, I'm getting drunk. But Celia St. James, for the most part, stuck to her beliefs and stuck to who she was as a person, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, I also had to. As much as I want to say Evelyn is my favorite, she sadly is not. I had a very big love-hate relationship with her. But two of my absolute favorites that I want to mention are Harry Cameron, who is just like nothing but a sincere gay man of the 50s, like the most authentic that you can be during that time. And I think he was a great mentor for not only Cecilia St. James, but also like Evelyn Hugo herself on how you can excel during this time, but also like still maintain truth without getting hurt, because like that was such a like just crazy time to live in, to feel these feelings, because like, I mean, I briefly talked about it in my vlog for March, which go check out. But like gay people didn't exist like gay people didn't exist from now until forward. Like they existed forever and ever previously, and like it's really hard because people in like the queer community could not just come out.
I just want to point out too that one of mine and Rand's first conversations, like when we became friends, we were talking about how people like this existed before and went unknown.
Yeah.
And like we were talking, I think it was a point where we were like talking about how people would change their names to like pass as sisters.
Yes.
And so I thought this was really interesting of how it was portrayed, because like us, we wonder about that stuff. We wonder about how people existed like this, what they went through, what their lives looked like when they had this big secret inside of them. So I thought that was really interesting to see it portrayed in a different way.
Yeah, and that's why I like absolutely love this. And I told Taylor, and for anybody else who has not seen it, go check out Hollywood on Netflix, because if you like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, you will absolutely adore Hollywood, because it literally ventures down this whole avenue of like what it's like to be gay and hidden, and like it's insane. But anyway, it's just so crazy to think about what people had gone through and like what they had to do in order to cover up their situations. But yes, Harry Cameron is my absolute favorite. I think he's amazing. I think he's a great mentor. I think he's a great friend. I love how his friendship with Evelyn grew, and how Evelyn drunkenly and jokingly was like, we're best friends, and he's like, yeah, okay. And then when something serious popped up, he was like, best friends tell each other these things, and she's like, oh shit, we are friends. We need to tell each other these things. I love how their like friendship is so secure and so grounded.
Yeah, that's
the thing is it blossoms so well, and like how their marriage went, and how like like it's such a complicated relationship, and if you were to just tell this relationship straight out like, oh, this is what they did, it's very weird, but like for the time it makes sense. I also said Celia St. James because I think she's great. A majority of the time I 100% was besides her on like everything that happened, but she was also very much like a woman of the time, in I guess in general, for being a lesbian, because it was very hard when kind of I guess like Evelyn Hugo was going through like her thing, and there's a beautiful quote that I can't think of precisely, but it's like how Evelyn was saying that I was the worst when I was attracted to men, but when I was attracted to women I was a lesbian. Like how
how she ignored one part of me until we were fighting. Yeah,
exactly. And like how Celia can only see one side of it because that's all she's lived, but she has never given Evelyn the like justification of like, oh, I understand you love both, and that's okay. Like for Celia, it was just one or the other.
And that is still a problem that people face today.
Oh yeah, biphobia is huge, so huge, and it's so sad, and it's even addressed in this book, which is why it's fucking amazing.
That's the quote I saved that we're going to talk about later.
Oh, okay, I love it so much. We're going to definitely talk about that. And then yeah, I forgot, I also had a third one, and that's Monique Grant, because I love Monique. I love the person that she portrays. I love seeing her growth as she grows with Evelyn, and how Evelyn's inspiring her to step out of her boundaries, to assess her boss and be like, no, I'm not going to give you the story outright. I'm going to go ahead and ask for more. I'm going to grow. I'm going to actually like make myself a very proud like writer and actually maintain dominance. I'm going to like do it on my own terms.
I loved too the quote where Evelyn was like, make them pay as much as they would pay a white man.
Yes.
As a woman of color, like, goddamn, I was so here for that, because she finally was able to stand up for herself and demand what she was worth.
Yes.
And man, I was so into that section. And also, I just feel like I loved being in Monique's perspective too when we were in Monique's perspective.
Yes.
Because she would make a mistake and then in her mind, she would go through it. And I feel like when people have the room to grow and to really think about like what they had just said, especially to the point where she was like, when she puts basically Evelyn Hugo into like a box of like being a lesbian, like she has to go back and basically backtrack what she said, go back on her biases and realize that maybe that wasn't the right way to go about it.
Yeah.
And so like actually watching someone go back and learn something was really, I thought it was really well portrayed.
And Monique's like journey through her life of seeing like how she starts off with like, I'm in a job like that I'm not really proud of. I'm in a place that I'm not really proud of. I am divorcing from a man who I absolutely adored. And like Evelyn puts all of those things into perspective where she's like, you don't like your job? Change it. Make it greater. Make it better for yourself. Choose yourself. And it's like, as selfish as that is really good for Monique to actually like take hold of the situation and grow. But she also like just realizes like, oh, I'm not sad that my husband's leaving because I wasn't in love with him. I'm like realizing that my marriage failed, and that makes me sad. Like, it's just, Evelyn puts everything into perspective, and I'm so happy that she kind of like forced herself into Monique's life, and like their involvement is insane. But also,
it was for the better, I think, in Monique's life.
It was.
Even though it was terrible, the reason it came into it, which we'll talk about later.
But I was like, I personally love Monique because I was like, she is kind of like everything that I kind of feel personally right now, where she's like, I'm not black enough, I'm not white enough, and I'm like, that's very much me. Like, I feel like I'm very in the middle of everything, where it's like, I'm not like Mexican enough, I'm not white enough for anything, and she like deals with wanting to excel in her career, and that's exactly where I am right now as well. I'm like, I want to get into a career that like I love, and I was like, to jump into, let's move on to least favorite.
Least favorite characters, basically all of the other husbands.
Actually, yeah.
I literally put Dawn Adler. It was hard to find a least favorite character because I loved the part that they played, if that makes sense.
They all had a specific role for Evelyn's life that it was like, I can't hate you because like you helped her grow into this specific person, and that's why this writing is great. Because this isn't even like, it's like based on a character or a person.
And it was such an interesting way that it was written. I cannot like gush enough about this book. But I chose Dawn Adler first because, first of all, he was like the first bad husband that she ever had.
He was an abusive husband.
And it was, I think the worst part was she married him. He was her first love. And just the fact that like she had that comment where he was like, or where she pointed out that he loved flowers just to be near them. He loved beautiful things even if he didn't want to pluck them and own them. But the second that they got married, basically he felt an entitlement and an ownership over her that completely changed his perspective. And I thought that was super interesting to explore. My tongue is getting numb.
But that
I feel like am I just constantly...
No, you're fine.
Okay, it feels like I'm constantly stumbling over my words because my tongue is getting numb, and I don't know if it's from the cinnamon or from the alcohol.
No, but to kind of... Dawn Adler was like one of the people that I was going to say, but he's still in a gray area for me because he did actually reconcile with Evelyn Hugo at the end, where he realized that he's like, a lot of my like reasoning for doing what I did was because I was a drunk and I am so many days clean, and he fully apologized to her and he reconciled with her. That I was like, good for you. It doesn't take back for anything that he had done, but it does kind of help to see like, okay, what was motivating him.
I put Don Adler, and then I also really hated Mick.
Did I put Mick? No, I didn't.
Mick Revis. I just feel like he was only in for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But just the idea of him pisses me off.
Oh yeah, he's grody. Like he
was grody from the beginning, and Evelyn Hugo was like, yeah, he's disgusting, but we just gotta do it.
Yeah, he's gross, but like I gotta go through with it.
And then that whole point of like their sex scene, I was like, huh?
I listened to that part, and I literally was like, but no, he gave me like very Elvis-y vibes.
Yeah, I didn't like
if that
him.
makes sense.
I have no specific reason to point to. I just didn't.
I just didn't like that.
Every scene that he was in made me uncomfortable. And then he makes an appearance in Daisy Jones and the Six too that I'm not gonna like go in on because obviously that's not this book. But he makes an appearance and he's gross there too.
Ugh. Yeah. See, no, mine were two other of Evelyn Hugo's like lovers and husbands, and the first one is Ari Sullivan because one, he's a fucking pedophile. Like he's so gross. He's literally disgusting, and he reminds me of that like stereotypical what you would think like big kind of gross greasy kind of like director would be. Like that's how he feels to me, and I'm literally like I want to get away. So he's just gross to me overall. I literally wrote in my notes.
I also just laugh about the fact that she like faked an orgasm with him.
Yes, he's not even good in bed. But like it just was the fact that she's like, yeah, I was 14 and I knew I needed to, or not 14, but she was like 16 or whatever, and she knew she needed to sleep with him, and I was like, that's disgusting.
And he knew she was underage.
Yes, that's even worse. But my second one is Max Gerard, her like 6th husband, right?
Is it Max Gerard?
Yeah.
Damn. I keep getting him mixed up with Mick Revis, but I think it is Max Gerard. I think you're right.
But yeah, I was like, Max Gerard is a homophobic French asshole.
Max.
Oh my god.
I think it's literally titled that. The Disappointing Max.
Oh my, yeah, because he is.
Yep, Disappointing Max Gerard.
Yep. So Max Gerard was the man who was supposedly in love with Evelyn Hugo, but he was infatuated with her. Mm-hmm. He was in love with the idea of who Evelyn Hugo was, who literally Harry Cameron came up with of like this persona for her, and like how she has spent her whole life being the like tease and the want and the like, oh, I'm gonna give you just the snippet of everything, that Max Gerard's like, I want it all. I want to know what comes after that.
And it's just fell for it.
What I knew grossed me out from him was he was like, his quote of like, I've been in love with you for years. Please be with me type thing, that I was like, ew, and ew. Because like,
it's hard to, because I really wanted to like him. Because first of all, he was the person who gave Evelyn her basically like her restart.
Like,
and so that's when I wanted to like him. And then basically when they did the movie later with Don Adler, even that point, I wanted to like him because he was pushing limits.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so interesting. He wanted to show basically women enjoying pleasure when it hadn't been shown before.
See, and I can respect his artistic, like, idea of wanting to, like, show that women also have pleasure, but it's like, where I see him versus, like, Harry Cameron knows, like, hey, the people are not going to go for this. They're going to slightly hate you and, like, they're going to resent you a little bit. Whereas, like, Max Gerard was like, no, we need to open the views of everybody. And it's like, yes, like, realistically, that would make sense. And we want to do that for people. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to do it.
She didn't even get the Oscar.
She didn't. Don Adler did. Because as a white man in the 60s, like, oh, yeah, no, he can view pleasure. But, like, her, no. She's not the pure angel anymore. We can't favor that, like, off. That's absolute shit.
So now that we've gotten through our favorite and least favorite characters, which we have a lot of feelings about, as you can tell, we are going to get into basically hidden themes and favorite quotes and the meat of the novel.
The meat.
The meat. Hey, that sounds dirty.
Okay, So I was like, a lot of my quotes are from the beginning. How many do you have?
I wanted to go back to the quote earlier that I had brought up. So there was this quote in the very beginning that I had brought up with Monique and Evelyn, and it's when Evelyn first mentions that the biggest love of her life was Celia St. James, and Monique looks at her and she's like, so are you willing to come out as a lesbian? And Evelyn makes this quote where she says, don't ignore half of me so you can fit me into your box. Don't do that. Let me just say, we love a bi queen here.
We love a bi queen here.
We love a bi queen. And that part, really, it made me pause. It made Monique pause. It made the world pause. I love that Monique kind of takes a step back and she's like, as a woman of color who is half black and half white, I just did the same exact thing to Evelyn that people constantly do to me. Basically, like, Monique gets this room to grow with Evelyn,
Yeah.
and I loved the out of that.
Oh my god. That was something that I definitely was like, yes, tell her off, because like, as like somebody who, I guess like, I don't know, like looks straight, which is really stupid to have to say, like, people will all the time come at me being like, oh, so you and your girlfriend, this is the first girl you've ever loved, and I'm like, no. Like, I've never been in another, like, woman-loving woman relationship, but that doesn't mean that I've not loved women since I was, like, a lot younger.
Just look at Rayanne's Tumblr.
Oh, good luck finding it. I love Evelyn because she is, like, the bi queen I strive to be, because she is, like, I guess, like, a white passing, like, straight passing woman, and I'm like, I feel that as a white passing Latina and a like straight passing woman, where people are like, oh, you're in a lesbian relationship. I'm like, well, no, I'm in a relationship with a woman, but that doesn't mean I'm a lesbian.
Dude, no wonder you connect so much with this.
That's why I love this book, because I'm like, wow, check and check and check. Okay, wow.
Except for you're like a good person.
That's true. I am a good person. I don't want to be an actress. I don't want to risk my entire life for the Hollywood. Like,
Rayanne hasn't like faked or completely orchestrated a wrongful drunk driving incident. God damn, I'm getting really drunk. Okay, this drink is really good.
No, I just orchestrate a drunk encounter via YouTube. But yeah, no, that's why I love this book, because I'm like, yes, exactly. Did you have another quote?
Well, I don't have another quote, but I did want to talk about the theme of the role that like color plays in this. I thought this was super interesting of a book because you can almost analyze it the same way you would analyze a classic book.
Yes.
So there is a huge role that color plays in it. Obviously, Evelyn Hugo's emerald green is a big symbol that like obviously is always pointed to. I was getting very like Great Gatsby vibes because she was always wearing emerald green when she was climbing towards something.
Okay, so something that I
striving.
looked up was like the theme of green, and like a quick Google search of like what green means is like money and wealth, is luck, tranquility, earth, and being grounded, but also like jealousy, which is like joked about in one of the articles.
All Evelyn.
Literally, which is joked about in one of the articles where it's like she's green with jealousy, when it's like she was not, like, at all. And it was like I think about like Dawn Adler's like new marriage, and she like showed up in her normal green color, and everyone's like, ooh, she's wearing that for jealousy. I'm like, that's not it. But it's,
well, she was
like,
jealous when it came to Celia.
Yes.
And towards other actresses that were like basically like going towards her dream, except when it came to Celia. Like, she was jealous of Ruby.
Oh my god.
She was jealous of other actresses, but because she loved Celia, there was never a point that she was jealous of her.
Yeah,
so I feel like jealousy could play into it as well.
It could kind of, but I was like, obviously this woman was chasing after fame. She was chasing after money. What?
I could be totally wrong because I am drunk, but there was a point, she was wearing like emerald green in every point that she was like climbing towards the top. She never wore emerald green when she was on top or when she was like declining.
Definitely not declining. I think on top she could have, but
she wasn't wearing green when she won her Oscar.
No.
I also feel like Celia St. James is the only other character whose color is extremely specified.
Oh yeah.
And that was red.
Oh, see, I thought it was pink.
no, red because of her red hair. Like, it always,
I could see that.
every scene she talks about, like, every scene that she talks about Celia, it mentions her red hair in some way, whether or not it is, like, her fiery red hair, or there's bronze in it, or there's blonde in it. Like, the way that it is portrayed is different every single time.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was super interesting, too, because Celia is one of the characters who has the strongest moral compass, but she is so deep in it, where it's like, she has this fire inside of her where she chooses what to believe in, and she goes wholeheartedly in that belief.
Yeah, that's true. The thing is I was like, that girl is, she's a force to be reckoned with.
She is. Goddamn, I love her. We should do a cosplay when your hair is red again. I know I've already said this before, but I'm wasted. Look it, my drink's almost gone.
You can enjoy mine. Okay, so one of the main themes that I had was like the idea of love and intimacy, and that is something that is really ventured in from the moment that Celia St. James pops up to like the marriages in between all of that, because when I noticed it specifically was because of Harry and Evelyn's relationship and how they like love each other wholeheartedly, not like romantically whatsoever. Like, I feel like their relationship would be what I would assume like the whole like twin flame would be, where it's they're the whole like not combative, but like perfectly fitted love that's not romantic, if that makes sense.
I love the quote too where they brought up, they were like, I don't know how soulmates work, but if soulmates are real, you are definitely one of mine. And I love the idea of soulmates and how it plays into it, of not just like a romantic soulmate, but there can be platonic soulmates and people that your soul just connects with on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And it isn't just one person. You can connect that way with multiple different people, and it just be completely different, but its own thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like the whole intimacy of like being completely open, because she with like literally Harry was like, I want to have a baby, and like the whole involvement of having a baby means you have to have sex in order to have a baby, and she was literally like, okay, we have to do this, but
they never fell in love.
That's the thing, is it was solely for literally having the child together and raising as an entire like commune of family. But like, okay, so the whole intimacy thing, there's a quote that I loved on page 113 that's literally, when you realize you can tell someone your truth, when you can show yourself to them, when you stand in front of them bare and their response is, you're safe with me, that's intimacy. And I was like, that was when she was with Celia St. James, and that was the first interaction that they had, that she was like, the only time I've ever felt intimate, I've never felt this with Don Adler, but I've only felt this with you, because I feel like I can be my whole self around you. And I was like, that hits my heart so hard, because like being ever in like a relationship where you're just like, yeah, I love this person, but it's like knowing that you can like be completely wholly someone, and that's like, it's really sad, because I also contribute this with like my girlfriend of like Evelyn's and Celia's relationship. I'm like, this is like the relationship that I'm in, minus the whole like sleeping with men. Yeah, so breaking up multiple times and sleeping with men. I'm like, yeah, no, not that part. But like everything else, I'm like, yes, it's like we're so whole truly to ourselves, that it's like, that was such a beautiful quote to me, that I'm like, yes, the idea of intimacy isn't just like what I feel like people attribute. Intimacy is only sex. And that's not it. It's literally not even just bearing your body, but bearing your whole soul to someone and being like, here I am, I hope you like it. And they're literally like, that's great, I love you, come here, kind of thing. It's just,
Well, plus it also explores like friendship love and romantic love. And like me and Ryan joke all the time about how we're platonic soulmates, but I love that there is almost this idea that the book hones in on, of like, you can have multiple soulmates and it be nothing romantic. Because like the way that you connect with certain people and it be on a deeper level.
1,000%. Like,
and I love the idea that they explored that. Like, I love the idea of Harry and Evelyn's relationship and the way that it explored their marriage and wanting to be together, but not in a romantic way.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so I love that. And then I also loved that it dealt with the bisexual erasure.
Yes.
And basically all of her relationships, especially with Celia.
Yeah.
Because again, it got to the point where Celia pointed out, like, okay, like, I will only acknowledge your bisexuality when it is convenient for me. And that's basically usually when they were fighting.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, the last thing that I kind of want to talk about is, like, the whole idea of the self. So, like, Evelyn focuses a lot on it when it comes to her career and her growth as an actress and, like, her growth as an individual. But she also kind of, like, pushes that onto Monique Grant when she's like, you need to take hold of everything. Like, you need to do this. And it's like, I understand that she's like, you are Harry's. So I get that Evelyn's wanting to focus on Monique as, like, she is, like, Harry's love interest's daughter. But, like, it's just really funny that Evelyn's trying to, like, push this idea down onto Monique as, like, you need to take hold of yourself and you need to know that, like, you yourself is worthy of being, like, important. And you should ask for these things and you should push it and, like, keep focusing on your, like, selfish intents, even if it's, like, you're gonna kind of, like, somebody over at some point.
Well,
Don't regret it.
So much of it is the fact that there are so many parallels between Evelyn and Monique.
That's
and
true.
It's like they point it out constantly where they're like, okay, I see this parallel, and Monique is usually like, okay, I gotta learn from this. But also, I think that Evelyn sees so many parallels between them where she sees herself in Monique, where she wants to basically, like, push on these ideals to her as that being her, like, evolution, I guess. Like, her daughter is dead at that point, so at that point she wants to instill these ideas into another person in order to keep her legacy going.
Yeah, and okay, so there was a quote that I had, and it's literally it's like early on page 35, and it's like, you don't give things. I can't help it. I play with it. The world doesn't give you anything. You have to take things. And it's like, that is literally the basis of the entire thing for Evelyn. That's the basis for anybody in this novel.
For us. We're gonna start taking shit.
We're gonna just take it all. But it's like, Evelyn has a great point where it's like, you can't just wait for things to happen to you. You have to kind of take control of the situation. You have to take it from it. So it's like the whole idea of the self and having to take things. Taylor loved this drink. I'm so happy.
It was really strong, but the cinnamon helped it go down easier, and now I'm drunk.
See, she didn't have a bad fireball incident. I had a bad fireball incident.
I've never had fireball.
You can tell because
Oh my god, I've never had fireball.
See, I made a lot of comments that were me just thinking, and, like, one of them was the quote of, like, you have to find a job that makes your heart feel big instead of one that makes it feel small. And I was like, yes, Dad, yes, I will. It just
me being unemployed.
But, like, literally me just finding a fucking job that I want to do. I'm like, yes, you're right, because there's so many things that I have ideas of, like, this makes my heart feel like it's expanding, that I want to start diving into that, and, like, just actually getting into it is very hard to do. So I'm like, thank you.
Well, we are in a pandemic.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to keep making excuses.
Like, yes, are you hiring? No, but you're not. We just laid off 250 people. Cool.
Great, thanks. Great, thanks.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe if you have not already. We are new to, like, doing modern books, so if you guys have any suggestions of what we should do for next month, please let us know down below.
Please. Because we definitely are just picking and choosing randomly.
Basically, just what's popular is what is popping up in our TBRs.
Yeah,
but
same.
You want to talk about our Instagram?
Alright. Alrighty then. Follow us on Instagram at Tipsy_book_talks. Also, we have our TikTok up, and we are at Tipsy_book_TOKS.
We'll put it right here. I wonder if you saw that. Should I put it higher?
Let me just put it in front of Rand's face. There you go.
Right in front of Rand's face.
Anyway, follow us both there. We post fun TikToks that we think are relevant and or entertaining for us.
Or stupid.
But otherwise, thank you. Do not cheers me.
I've got a little
empty.
bit.
Oh, yeah.
Not much.
Are you going to drink that? Okay,
Yeah.
I guess. Cheers.